This presentation has several objectives. First, it will give an overview of the meaning and purpose of motivation. Second, various theories of motivation will be presented. And finally, the role that it plays in the workplace will be a central theme addressed. By the end of this presentation, you should have a clear understanding of the important role it has in the workplace, as well as useful strategies for developing and building motivation in a school setting. Motivation, what is it? We are all likely familiar with the word motivation and could give a general idea of what it means, but Reeve gives a concise description of what it is. First, motivation is the result of a condition that requires us to make a change. This can either be in ourselves or in our environment. Once we have identified the needed change, motivation then involves an internal process that gives us the energy to act in a certain way, and it is this behavior that results in the actual change. Finally, it is important to understand that we can be motivated by needs, thoughts, or emotions. Now that we have looked at motivation in general, this slide presents definitions of what motivation looks like in the workplace in particular. In this setting, it is an internal concept. Our personal values have an influence on this motivation. Depending on how we feel about the organization, we might be satisfied and intend to stay committed to the job. This could result in being fully dedicated in the work that one would do and to be highly productive. This underscores the second concept on this slide, which is the willingness to support and work toward the goals of the organization. Owings and Kaplan look specifically at motivation in the workplace, and it is evident why motivation is crucial to a positive and productive workplace. To explain it in this setting, motivation is what gives purpose to our behaviors at work. It is responsible for generating both energy and focus, and this applies to leaders as well as followers. Finally, motivation forms the basis of stimulating our desire to not only work, but to do so diligently and productively. Looking at the effect that motivation has in the workplace makes it very clear as to why leaders need to build a satisfying and productive environment for employees. A great deal of research has been done on motivation, and various theories have resulted from this. We will look at 4 of these theories. First, however, mention of the psychological contract is needed because this often impacts motivation. There is no universal definition of this, but there is agreement on the following aspects. A psychological contract is implicitly developed between an employee and an organization. It incorporates the beliefs, values, and expectations of both. This contract changes regularly based on needs, and it can be different for each individual. The motivation theories are to be looked at next. The first theory to be considered in this presentation is the motivation hygiene theory by Frederick Herzberg, which was an extension of Abraham Maslow's work. Herzberg's focus was on the work environment, and his theory attempted to identify the factors that cause motivation. He found that hygiene factors at work cause dissatisfaction. Examples include company policy, supervision, and working conditions. Satisfaction results from such motivating factors as achievement, responsibility, and growth in one's abilities at work. A second theory is the need for achievement by David McClelland. For these employees, tangible incentives are not the motivation, but accomplishment. As a result, the focus in the work environment is for the employee to assume more responsibility, to have challenging goals, and to receive concrete feedback from leadership. Similar to achievement, self-determination can be another strong need of employees, and this is where we look at the next theory. Autonomy is the focus, with emphasis on having choice in both what we do and how we do it. In the workplace, this can be seen as an employee choosing how work is done, as well as the scheduling of the work. Setting individual performance goals is also beneficial. The last theory to look at is the expectancy theory by Victor Vroom. The expectations of workers is central to this theory, and this can include needs and motivations. As in the autonomy theory, choice plays a role in this theory too, and choice impacts behavior. Finally, it is important to understand that workers will make choices to optimize the outcome for themselves. Given the valuable impact of motivation in the work environment, it is crucial for leaders to learn concrete strategies to develop and increase motivation whenever possible. This slide lists some options, and they are not complicated to implement. Giving employees some choice in some of their responsibilities and creating their performance goals can create more enthusiasm for their work. This supports the autonomy theory. Daniel Goleman supports the power of an optimistic atmosphere in which to work. Given the importance of relationships, encouraging connections between employees can lead to better motivation. This could be done through team projects and collaboration. And on a social level, leaders could create opportunities outside of the workday for connections. Leaders should also be focused on establishing connections. My workplace ideas for motivation would look very similar to the previous slide on ways to develop and use motivation. I currently practice many of these in my own classroom. I strive to create a welcoming and positive environment, and I get regular feedback from my students that they are enthusiastic about learning in my class. They get regular choice of activities when we do station rotation or choice on assessments. Self-reflections are an excellent way for students to learn about themselves and to also communicate with me about how the activities were and what could be improved. Delegating tasks in the classroom is important so that students are learning to assume leadership roles and more responsibility. They are actively engaged in helping the classroom to function. Understanding motivation is not complicated, and the benefits of building motivation in any setting are well worth the investment.